In this video, we uncover a horrifying true crime case that will leave you angry and heartbroken. The twists, the cruelty, and the sheer injustice behind what happened will make your blood boil. On a late November Sunday morning, someone walking by in the woods near a small stream saw something strange. A small, weak figure was hidden under a mess of downed branches. It was still quiet, and by itself it was Cadzow Glen, a quiet park in the middle of Hamilton, Scotland. And Amber Gibson was the girl that was found there 2 days ago. She was reported missing. There were a lot more questions than answers after the finding. Why did nobody speak up before? What made her clothes stand out? Who called the children's home where she lived to make it look like she was still safe? The last few hours of Amber's life would be very upsetting. This case is one of the worst I've ever seen. Amber Gibson didn't have the normal childhood that most kids do. By the time she was 3, she and her bigger brother, Connor, had been taken away from their birth family and put into foster care. Craig and Carol then took them in and cared for them like they were their own. Eventually, they became their lifelong guardians. Amber was artistic, expressive, and full of possibilities as a child. She liked animals, art, and singing. Later, Amber's foster parents said she was kind, strong, and had a lot of energy that lit up the room. But it was clear from a young age that Amber carried a lot of emotional weight. The same thing happened to brother Connor. Their early years had long-lasting effects on them. Even though the Nans tried to give their children order and love, and there were always problems. When Amber turned 13, she needed more help than before. She was sad to say that she had to go back into foster care when she was 13. Connor lived in an Ven home until he was 18. After that, he went into supported housing. Amber was living at the Hillside Children's Home in Hamilton by the end of 2021. There were only a few miles between where Connor was staying and the Blue Triangle Homeless Hostel. The brothers got back in touch that year. Even though they had been apart for long periods of their childhood, they started to text each other again. Amber, who is 16 now, seemed hopeful that she and her brother could get back together. She saw it as a chance to start over. On November 26th, Amber told the staff at the children's home that she was leaving to meet him that night. Amber looked like she was very happy. It was getting low on power, so she gave Connor's number to the office. It was just in case. After that, she left into the night. Connor and Amber were more than just a bad pair of brothers. Their long-term foster father said they were a bad match. After the fact, Craig Nan told the judge that they could not be left alone together. He said that they had a lot of fights and that their relationship felt strange, especially as they got older. There were no reports of physical fights between them while they were living together, but there was always a feeling of stress. After both of them had left the foster home, Amber got in touch with Connor again in late 2021. She did so with a careful sense of hope. Amber's time in foster care wasn't fun at all. In June of that year, a man named Haim Stars ran her in his room while she was asleep or not awake. She bravely told on him, and her story helped get him convicted. Haim Stars was given a jail sentence of more than 10 years. Even though Amber had a rough childhood and then went through trauma, she still tried to rebuild, but it made her a little more sensitive. The staff at Hill House Children's Unit were wary, but they didn't stop Amber from seeing her brother. An employee tried to talk Amber out of going out that night by saying it was too cold and dark, but Amber pushed. It was just her brother, so what could go wrong? At this point, none of them knew that Connor had recently become less steady, more alone, and more volatile. She had no idea that he was going to call her that night. On the surface, that would sound kind, but in reflection, it would be horrifying. Friday night, November 26th, just after 9:15 p.m., Amber left her cell with the kids. She walked through Hamilton's cold, snowy streets by herself on her way to the town center to meet Connor. By 1:00 p.m., CCTV had caught the brothers together. The place was close to Cadzow Glen. Amber is happy next to her brother in the picture, but she has no idea how important this picture will become in the future. They were still strolling along together. Amber was not seen again after they got to the footbridge near the park. By 11:30 p.m., Connor was seen on stage TV by himself. He was now leaving a wooded area on foot. He was now clearly dirty and messy. His shorts, t-shirt, and jacket were all now stained red. Connor didn't seem scared, though. No matter what had happened, his return to the Blue Triangle office was calm, and he just slouched down in a chair. But he just told them he fell into a ditch even though his hands were dirty and he had small cuts on his legs and what looked like scratches on his arms. After that, he asked to use the office phone. Connor then called Hill House, which was Amber's home for kids. He asked them if his sister was okay after coming back. The worker who answered the phone said that this call made her feel bad. She said that Connor seemed vague and lost. He told her that they had a fight and the cheater had stormed off, but he wasn't sure where. Connor took a shower that night. He took off his clothes and went back outside with a plastic bag. He texted Amber the next day and asked, "Are you okay?" No one ever read that message. The staff at Hill House Children's Unit were getting more and more worried. By bedtime, Amber still hadn't come back. She also didn't answer her phone. By Saturday, November 27th morning, her disappearance was becoming more and more important. When a support worker called Connor, he told them again that Amber had just stormed off after a fight, but he couldn't say when or where it happened. His answers were not very clear, and he got angry when he was told that the cops would be called. The staff got the cops involved. A report of a missing person was made, and search teams started looking all over Hamilton. Since Amber had never run away before, this was a big worry. Police were called to Cadzo Glen on Sunday morning, 2 days after she was last seen. A body had been found there. Her name was Amber. Amber Gibson, sometimes known as Amber Nan, wasn't doing anything different to any other 16-year-old on the night she went missing. According to police who are now investigating her murder, a 16-year-old death is absolutely tragic, and certainly one is from a homicide. So, our focus is to understand Amber's last movement so that we can provide some answers to her loved ones. Amber was reported missing from the town of Hamilton just before 10:00 p.m. on Friday. She was last seen on Cadzo Street after leaving home in the Hill House area around 9:15 that night. On Sunday morning, just after 10 a.m., emergency services were alerted to a body near Cadzo Glen. The next day, police formally identified the body as the missing teenager. Her death was being treated as unexplained before a murder investigation was launched on Tuesday. The park remained sealed off today, the investigation happening in the shadow of a residential street. Just utterly shocked. Really can't believe it. It's far too close to home. It's really frightening. It's a worry that girls, especially young girls, can't walk about at nighttime without things like this happening to them. Police say a key part of their investigation is to establish whether Amber knew her attacker as they try to work out what happened in the hours leading up to the death of a 16-year-old girl who had her whole future in front of her. Well, Amber's family and loved ones are, as you'd expect, said to be devastated by her death. And people who live here are left with a lot of questions as police tried to reassure them in the absence of any arrests. This park is less than a 10-minute walk from Hamilton Town Center, which they say would have been very busy at the time she was last seen. Just the smallest detail could help them move this investigation forward. She was covered in mud. Her clothes were torn. The back of her head, neck, and arms were all bruised. There were 15 different wounds on her face and head. A short distance away, police found her cell phone. It was broken into 3 pieces. The jacket that used to keep her warm was now in the water. Amber was such a well-loved, bright, and lively young girl who attended as a day pupil at our academy in Bathgate. Our children and staff were all devastated by the news of this tragedy and are all working together to support each other at this difficult time. Our sympathies extend to all of Amber's loved ones and to everyone who knew. On Facebook, Brother Connor wrote a message to Amber. "Amber, you will always fly high." It said, "Everyone but me will miss you. Sweetheart, I love you. Goodbye for now." But he was caught the very next day. The CCTV footage really showed what happened. At 9:51 p.m. and again at 10:00 p.m. cameras in downtown Hamilton caught Connor walking with Amber. First, they were near the shops. Then they went to the entrance to Cadzo Glen through the trees. They were seen having fun. Amber even took a picture of it. She texted her friend that picture and wrote, "My big bro." After that, they were no longer seen by the camera. The next frame shows a different picture. At 11:38 p.m., Connor shows up again. He's now walking alone on a nearby street and looks messy. Amber wasn't to be found, but Hatchie stormed off because Connor said or heard something else. After midnight, he was picked up again by a new camera. This time, it was at the Blue Triangle Hostel's front door. Those clothes are no longer on him. And then, not long after, the camera catches him going again. He has a plastic bag with him this time. He gets out of the picture and walks towards the hostel's trash cans. That bag will be gone when he gets back. In a very scary turn of events, Connor wasn't the only guy police were looking at while they were investigating Amber. Also, this is one of the scariest and strangest things I've ever seen. Another man was there, a guy named Stephen Corian. He was 45 years old, and neither of his brothers knew anything about him. Based on all the information we have, it looks like Stephen found Amber's body by accident in the 2 days after she died. When the cops were finally called, he didn't call for help. Instead, he touched her inappropriately and then hid her under more plants and branches. To be clear, this man did find a dead body and decided to help the person instead of calling for help. He later told the cops that his DNA must have been on her from when he went to the toilet in the bushes months before. William, his 79-year-old father, also spoke out for his son and said he was innocent. He said that from November 26th to November 28th, 2021, he was with him at his home in Blantyre. But forensic scientists made it clear his DNA was found on Amber's body 39 times. This included places where her clothes would have hidden them, and his DNA wasn't just at the scene of the crime. The focus was there. Stool and skin cells were a good match. There was no other logical way for his DNA to have gotten there besides through very close and gross touch. After the fact, the judge told Corin, any decent person would call 911 right away if they found the naked body of a young girl. But you didn't do that. He would have to deal with real consequences for the decisions he made and the things he did and did not do. But first, both guys had to go through a trial. The case against Connor Gibson began in July 2023 at the High Court in Glasgow. He denied all of the claims. He said that all he had done was fight with Amber and leave. Red DNA was found on his clothes, on her body, and in the trash. He couldn't explain what they were. The cops would look in that bin outside the hostel and find a face mask, a white Levi t-shirt, and a pair of gray shorts that were stained red. They had Connor's and Amber's DNA on them. Based on what they saw, forensic scientists thought that Connor had attacked Amber because of the redness, the transfer of skin cells, and the damage to her clothes. He had taken off her clothes against her will. He raped her and then left her in the woods where she was partly buried by branches. But his defense lawyer said that even though he admitted that he had hit her, he didn't mean to kill her. There were 21 pieces of proof put forward by the prosecution that all linked Connor directly to Amber's abuse, attack, and death. DNA, CCV, texts, calls, and lies were all used. What the doctor said might have been the scariest part. The time for Amber was over when someone put pressure on her neck. In other words, the last thing she saw was her brother's face. In Livingston's High Court on September 4, 2023, Connor Gibson stood in the dock and did not say a word. He got a lifetime in prison. He has to serve at least 22 years before he can ask for release. You've been convicted of the physical assault and murder of your younger sister, Amber Nevin, as she likes to be known. Like you, she had not had the best start in life, being fostered and then residing in a children's home. She also had to deal with having been she would have looked to you as her brother for support. She was looking forward to meeting up with you on the night she was murdered. She even posted a selfie of both of you on Snapchat. You walked with her to Cadzow Glen. There you beat her about the head, breaking her nose, removed her clothing, and assaulted her with intent to, and then manually strangled her to death. The last person she saw alive was you, her brother, strangling a life out of her, having beaten her up and tried to kill her. What you did was truly evil. In sentencing you, I take into account your age, your difficult background, everything that's been said on your behalf, background report, your lack of criminal record, and of course the circumstances of your appalling crimes. I hereby sentence you to life imprisonment. Stephen Corgan got his sentence at the same time. He got 9 years in prison for messing with Amber's body and trying to hide it. It was And in fact, the judge also used the word evil to describe Connor Gibson's crimes, for which, as you rightly say, he will now spend the rest of his life in prison, a minimum of 22 years before he will be considered, and the judge stressed being considered for release on parole. The crime itself was, as you say, a depraved one. Connor Gibson walked his younger sister, 16-year-old Amber, to Parklands. He then proceeded to try and cover up his crimes. He lied repeatedly, in the words of the judge, before CCTV footage, and indeed forensic evidence ultimately exposed his lies, and he was convicted after a 2-week trial. There were foster parents in court for the Novenans, Amber and Connor. When the decision came out, they made a quiet, sad statement. One of our daughters is now buried in El Cemetery and another is in jail. Things will never be the same again. Also, they said what many people already thought. Amber had failed care services, the care system, and many of the people who were supposed to protect her failed her. The person she should have been able to trust the most also failed her. Her big brother. I just think it's terrible that Amber has failed so many times. And to top it all off, some unknown man treated her badly again. Sometimes the world is really that bad. What are we going to do? If this story shocked you, tell me what you think in the comments. I want to know, where are you watching from today? Whether you're in the US, across the globe, or somewhere in between, drop it in the comments below. It's always great to see how far these stories travel. And if you're finding this case as fascinating as I do, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any future uploads.